Hoshyar Zebari.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Evan. I'm very pleased and honored to be with you, with this distinguished panelist. And this is an important subject, in fact, for this forum, because it speaks about the future. But we must start from where we are, actually, how we will reach prosperity. And I will start with my recent encounters somewhere else about where the world is going or where we are at the moment. Many of the historians, the strategists, believe that the world is going through the second Cold War at the moment because of the multipolar systems and the ongoing wars in Ukraine, the tension in Taiwan between China and the other countries in the region, and the ongoing war in the Middle East. So the prospects are really not bright generally, but in the long term, we believe that the forces of peace and democracy are going to win this confrontation. It's a matter of time because really this ongoing war in the Middle East, I think it's important. I was here in this panel a year ago, and I was listening to my remarks in the presence of many friends here. I said this war is different. This was what happened in October the 7th, was an existential threat to the state and the mindset of the Jewish state. And this war is going to escalate. It will spill over. It will not stay in Gaza. It will go beyond Gaza. And a year after that, we're seeing what is happening in this confrontation. And Iraq is not immune from this conflict. Although there has been many attempts by the Iraqi government, by the politicians, to keep away from this conflict, not to be dragged into this, but really the forces of the non-state actors are stronger than the central government, and they are pulling and pushing the country into the heat of this conflict. Now, also, there are prospects really for Israeli retaliation against certain targets in Iraq. This is a highly possible thing to happen in the near future because of the behavior of some of these non-state actors. Now, before speaking about prosperity, I think what are the conditions of prosperity? Definitely the first condition is peace and security, which is the theme of this forum. And unless there is security, unless there is peace, all other talks about development or prosperities or economic reforms would be a fantasy. For us here in the Kurdistan region, I think as the President Barzani this morning stated in his opening remark, that we are very proud of our people for conducting one of the clearest elections we have had, with the turnout, with the outcome, and we have the go-ahead from him. Now the results have been ratified by the election commissions in Baghdad to start our talks with all the winners of this election to form a government as soon as possible, not to link that to development or the national elections in Baghdad, because that would be a loss for the Kurds, for this capitalizing on this successful democratic process or electoral elections. As for the other theme you mentioned, how to link prosperity and stability to economic improvement, there are certain conditions. I mean, there are those people in government who have stated they want to do economic reforms, they want to combat corruption, to improve the life of people, to have more employment, to diversify the economy. But these are wishes, really. In reality, I've served in my capacity as a foreign minister for the longest period in Iraq history, and as a finance minister, as a politician in Baghdad. I know there are certain conditions. Unless you meet, it will be extremely difficult to reach the level of prosperity that we want to reach for this country, which is resourceful, which is rich, which has all the ingredients of success, but we lack good governance. How to bring all these factors together. There are three major impediments for economic reforms in this country. One is really the corruption, the widespread corruption, which has reached unproportionate levels. We're not talking about millions, we are talking about billions. The heat of the century, the billions that have been transported, and so on. So unless you have a good government to control corruption, it's impossible. Secondly is the justice system. It has to be just, independent, and even. Without justice, the country will not be investable. I mean, that's the rule, not here, all over the world. And also what this country lacks, and here in the KRG and the Prime Minister's government is trying to reach, is a financial system, a modern financial system of banking, of transaction, of transfer. And the government is trying to digitalize, really to follow these lines. But this is a process. As for the country as a whole, really the country is dependent on one source of revenue, that's the oil prices. And these prices are fluctuating. We cannot control it. I mean, already it has gone down. There are some talks in Baghdad, some experts who are here in this forum, who believe if we go by the current spending level and so on, we may not be able to pay the public servants' salaries regularly as it's supposed to be, because of the level of expenses, because the level of the payrolls for the public sector. So all these are challenges, to be honest. I think this government of the Prime Minister Sudani tried to address this problem, but it needs action. I mean, actions speak louder than words. And that has been the problem for the country. I don't want to take more time of my colleagues and the panelists, but I would really be delighted to answer any questions from you or from the audience. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Adil, why don't you go next?